Tony has been my band leader. He is the brother of a good friend of mine. He's been the longest New York resident that I've known. He's a really funny guy and a great supporter of the arts and a great carpenter. I still look, every time I take a shower, I look at the shelf he built in my bathroom
They're still
because
standing.
no, it's not had any problems.
Wonderful.
That's
Yeah.
an
All work
awesome
guaranteed till I'm off
bathroom.
the premises.
Pardon?
I said all work guaranteed till I'm off the
Jackie, what'd you
premises.
say?
Oh, I was saying that's an awesome bathroom. I'm an appreciator of
Oh,
your
that's
work.
right. Right, Jackie's been in my bathroom. All right, so Tony Stonier,
Ready?
I'm gonna let you go. He is also the author of a couple of books. I haven't read the second one, but the first one is great. It's called About Face, and you might have to wait till he releases another printing of it because he's been doing it himself. But yeah, it's amazing.
Still undiscovered.
So I'm gonna put you on. How do I do that? Do I do spotlight? Yeah, spotlight Tony, and then we'll just say go. Hey, Tony.
Hi everybody. I'm very excited to do this. Thank you for inviting me. A little background. Well, the theme is called A New Perspective, and the time I want to talk about actually had so many new perspectives for me. It was 1984. Those of you who lived in New York in 1984, it was, first of all, the first time I ever heard the word crack. And that converged with an amazing construction boom at that time. And I got swept up in the construction boom and went from being, let's see, to tell you, I was built, when I came back to New York, let me back up just for a second, give you a little background. I am a native New Yorker, but when my parents split when I was like 13, my father married a woman and moved to England. My mother married a trumpet player in Cleveland, and I used to spend half the year in one, half the year in the other. So when I moved back to New York as a young adult, I guess I was 21 or 22, I wasn't even planning to stay in New York. I was planning to visit family here and then maybe go study conga drums and Spanish in Mexico. This was one of the ideas that I had coming off a hideous relationship out in Seattle. That's a different story. But I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to make a living in New York. And I started putting up signs. I had a little training as a carpenter when I was out in Seattle. So I put up signs around the Upper West Side, loft beds built $200. And guess what? I built a whole bunch of loft beds for $200. Then something happened in 1984. I got married is what it was. And it was a strange thing because I'm usually, at that time, I was very uptight about what am I going to do? How am I going to make ends meet in New York City? Rents being what they were then. I was paying, what, $350 for my first place. Of course, that's humorous now. But I just had this feeling when I got back from my honeymoon that everything was going to be okay. So I answered an ad in the Times literally the day we got back. And the first call didn't answer. And the second call was like this sort of scary sounding Texan saying, well, come on in, we'll give you a whirl. How much you need for pay? I held my breath and I said, I want $10 an hour. And to my surprise, he was like, well, come on in. So I did one or two jobs for the man, me and a helper. And then the construction boom hit. And all of a sudden I was his foreman. All of a sudden we were hiring guys off the street. All of a sudden we couldn't get guys. I'm talking about, for me, it was mostly Tribeca. It was the entire city was blowing up with the construction boom. But mostly I was working at that time in Tribeca. I did a job on Chambers Street for a year. I did a job on J Street. Anyway, it was a Friday when I first heard these guys buzz, 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 crack, buzz, buzz, buzz. Man, you know about the crack? You heard about the crack? And this was the in thing. Full disclosure, a friend of mine, a guy called Wilfred, a lovely St. Croatian, or however you say that, gave me a hit on a Friday afternoon on the site, because back then, my first foreman job, I had a policy of looking the other way on Fridays and guys could kind of do what they wanted, which sort of made no sense. But anyway, that was the reality of it. What happened in conjunction with the crack hit, it wasn't a crack epidemic yet. Nobody knew what it was. It was a brand new drug. It was recreational. But tools started going missing on the job. right around that same time, I got a call from my Texas boss to come down to a job on Spring Street. We've been contracted to do 4 storefronts, which are 2 of them I think are still there. But I walked onto the job with my huge sack of tools, put it down, went over, shook his hand. His name was Victor. Turned around and my tools were gone. Someone in literally 30 seconds had come onto the site and stolen all my tools. Now, I knew Victor pretty well by then. He needed me very badly. So he just gave me $500, send me down to Canal Street, get whatever tools you need to get started immediately. And, you know, we'll get the rest as you go. On that same job, we started keeping all our tools in a gang box, a huge gang box. And it was, as foreman, I was, you know, registering what was coming in and out, which was very hard to do. One day I came in and our plywood fence was broken into and the gang box was gone. And there was a homeless guy who used to give money out in front of the job. He said, "Man, it happened so fast, you can't believe it." 4 guys pulled up in a U-Haul, took a bolt cutter to the lock on our plywood fence. 4 of them each took one end of the gang box and went off with several $1,000s worth of tools. So I will say my boss was pretty cool about it. I couldn't believe it. I was outraged. But he was like, well, you know, there was so much money flowing in the construction trade at that time that he didn't sweat it. He used to drive a Mercedes. He'd never lock it. He'd get broken into all the time. He even got the car stolen. He was just like, I mean, I don't know what that's about. But we're talking about change of perspective. So it wasn't long. One of the things that happened was the union came by. There were all these rumors flying that a delegate had come by the job and discovered that we were a non-union shop at that time. Well, I'd been in a youth group called the Red Tide when I was like 16, 17, 18 years old. There's a youth group of the International Socialists. So I was definitely a union man. How that played out over time with the union, well, to say change of perspective wouldn't begin. I'm still, you know, pro-union, and it's a shame what my local 608 did to lose credibility with pretty much everyone, including me. The leader, John O'Connor, couldn't seem to stay out of the New York Times for corruption and graft and you name it. He had his comeuppance when he sent some guys down to demolish a job that was non-union, but the job was being run by some of John Gotti's men. I don't know if anybody knows about the Westies, but they were very much hooked up with my local 608. They were all in bed, especially after they sent a hitman to come in and not kill John O'Connor, the head of my local, but shoot him in the ass in his office, which at that time was on, I think, 48th Street or something. They subsequently moved. But anyway, yeah, so I was starting to ask questions about my union. I went to a meeting and the guy told me, "Are you free for a demo job? These Koreans are doing a job right off Union Square." And I was like, "What do you mean a demo job?" He's like, "They made a regular practice of smashing up non-union jobs." And his comment to me was, "It's only a load of Koreans, you know." So anytime I hear anything like that, I always think I'm next. I'm first generation American. My father, who didn't even know he was Jewish, had to leave Germany when he was about 10. Anyway, what I wanted to get back to was these tool thefts, which were going on and on. Because my local and the mob ended up good friends, at least business partners. One day, a guy appeared on my job. His name was Vincenzo. He was from Sicily. He didn't speak a word of English. And he had that vibe of like a refugee's vibe of like he'd gotten out of the country by the skin of his teeth. Somebody got him in with local 608 and he ended up on my job. Even when I met him, he shook my hand so leery. He was like, he didn't know where he was or what was what or who was who. The crew, except for me, was all black and Spanish. Vincenzo, he made friends with the guys, but it was a very strange vibe. It became apparent very quickly that he had so much construction experience that I made him foreman of the laborers. So I was running the carpenters and doing administrative crap, and he was running the laborers. Well, my good friend Wilford one day came to me. The tool, by the way, while all this is going on, tools are going missing. my boss is mellow about it, but it's really my responsibility. And I start getting furious. I got so mad. Then one day we got a brand new Sawzall. It's reciprocating saw, Milwaukee, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what it was, but it went missing before I'd even had a chance to put my hands on it. And I called the meeting. I said, and I told, all my guys that I'd worked with now for quite a while, like, I want, if anybody knows anything, I want to know what it is. I set a trap. Wilfred and we put out a brand new, we got a replacement Sawzall. I left it over by the loading dock. I had Wilfred watch the front door, and I spent my lunch hour in the shadows with a baseball bat. I mean, I was that pissed. I was just, I'm going to catch whoever this is red-handed and make an example out of him. That was one wasted lunch period. Then there was another wasted lunch period. The whole time, my prime suspect was this Vincenzo, who never smiled, never said anything. He didn't speak any English. I didn't speak Italian. One day I told Wilfred to take a break because this was no way to spend lunchtime. And I went by myself. I sat behind the dumpster in the loading dock and waited. And Vincenzo came by, looked at me really cockeyed, passed, and he came back down and sat next to me. I was sitting on this little curb behind the dumpster, but he saw me, he comes, and he said, "You trouble?" Me, trouble, which I took to mean, if you have a problem, it's my problem. I guess he'd been watching me and my ways and stuff like this. Well, I don't know how I'm doing on time here, guys. Yeah, let me wrap it up. So long and short of the story is my change of perspective, that I was sure I had one guy who was the thief. He turned out to be the best friend I had on the job. And I'm talking about very sticky situations, threatening situations, and so on. Vincenzo was a gas. He was just a really good guy. About, like 10 years later, somebody came and told me that all those tools going missing was Wilfred, who'd gotten into the crack. So, I mean, if there's a moral to this story, just quickly, a dear friend of mine is an artist and recently had a piece of very valuable art go missing from his studio. Well, he was sure that it was this visitor he'd had who was a fan and was interested in buying some of his work and so on like this. And he knew I had a lot of experience with theft. So he was like, "What should I do?" I said, "Did you see him steal the artwork? Did you see him? Do you know for positive that it was him?" And he said, "No, but no one else was there." And blah, blah. I said, "Let it go. Don't say anything. Put it out of your mind." And this is a change of perspective which I have held on to, which is I've been wrong so many times on the construction site with who I thought was doing what, that I just learned, if you don't have videotape footage of the thief, let it go. That's my story.
Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
You should ask Todd about his stereo turntable.
No, I'm not.
Somehow somebody
All I can
stole
say is
something
I'm
out of it.
taking your total advice. I think I know who did it, but I didn't see him do it. So I got to put
Let
it
it
out.
go, brother.
That's it.
I know.
Miss Intuitive here thinks she knows, but she can't prove anything.
All right. Who's muted here still? We got,
I think you can hear us right now.
yeah, no, I am muted.
No, I know about our connection. Can you guys hear us?
We can hear you. We can hear you. Thank you, Tony.
Yes,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
How do I get people back? All I can see is myself.
Go
Oh,
to gallery view. Oh, you're on a phone. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe there's a way. Maybe you can scroll down or something.
Tony, we're all
You may
beautiful.
need to swipe to your left.
You put it on spotlight, remember?
Up on the phone from right.
Spotlight.
Can you unspotlight me?
I unspotted light him.
If
No,
you
he's still
swipe
spotlighted.
your screen to the
Spotlight.
left.
Wait,
if
what did you say, Jackie?
He's still
Hi, Tony.
spotlighted.
Ah, you're
Oh.
back.
Hi, Tony.
Hi.
Hi, Tony. This is Steve. If you take your finger and swipe your screen to the left, you'll
I
get
got it. I
a
got
view
it.
of the
I did
participants.
that. I took your advice. Thank you.
I love the fact that it's been like 2 years of Zoom, or a year and a half of Zoom, and we're still figuring it out.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of changes. All right, we have a couple other storytellers here. Jackie, will you introduce your storytellers?
I shall, but first a shout out to Steve because he helped with some technical stuff on another Zoom. So he's like a fairy godfather. Thank you for that, Steve. I think Ysabella said she'd like to go third, but I don't see Alex. Is she still there?
Yes, she's there.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
can
we
hear
hear
you,
you,
Saul.
Saul.
Okay, I just wasn't
gonna
sure if I was unmuted.
Yeah, I've been sort of unmuting as we go and then muting.
All
So when people start to start to tell their stories, I mute.
Okay,
Hi.
I'm gonna introduce. I never call her Alex because she's still Miss Hooks. We were teachers together, and that's all we could call each other. I'm gonna give you a short version of her bio, and just tell you, because in case this is her story, we survived a job from hell. So, okay, maybe you don't think that way, Miss Hooks, but I'm still scarred. Okay, so Alexandria Nicole Hooks, Miss Hooks, originally from Elmont, Long Island, New York, resides in the Bronx. She graduated from the oldest historically Black university in the South, Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina. She holds a BA in English with a concentration in education. She's taught middle school full-time for 5 years. God bless her. Middle school children are just wonderful. Okay, and let me just give you some highlights. She loves poetry, enjoys singing, traveling, photographing nature, and attending cultural events. I hope you consider this one of them. Okay, and one of her favorite quotes is by Dr. Maya Angelou: "Let nothing or no one dim the light that shines within." Alexandria Nicole Hooks.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, everyone. I see you clapping. Thank you for that greeting, Miss Jackie. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. Greetings, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. So good evening. It's great to be here virtually. The person that I actually am going to speak about tonight, when I got the prompt, it said, describe a time where you saw someone in a new light. So I was really thinking of that. I said, I was really like, who do I see in a new light? Like, I even talked to one of my sister friends. She's on the call too. I said, I really have to think, who can I talk about that I see in a new light? I started thinking of former students, family members, friends, even myself. But I said, And then as I was on the train ride home, something just hit me and just came over me. I said, oh, this is easy. My goddaughter, who's actually also on the call, she texted me and I said, wow, this is the perfect person. And I just started thinking of how I saw her in a new light. So first, her name is Natalie. She is a 15-year-old. She's in 10th grade. She's been a part of my life for 15 years. But just seeing her grow from a little baby to a teenager now, I just want to talk about how I've seen her grow and how I've seen like a new perspective in her, but just seeing her light overall and just seeing how she's matured. So she's someone who I've seen in a new light. So, back in 8th grade, she was kind of struggling. So now she's in 10th grade. So like 2 years ago, she was kind of struggling with her grades to keep them afloat. And we were at her graduation and everyone's like, oh, Natalie, look, everyone got these awards. Well, you didn't get any awards. Like they were saying, oh, look, people are on the honor roll. You didn't get the honor roll. But it wasn't a thing to say comparing her to other students, but just pushing her, saying, hey, you know, you can do this. You have the potential. You're just as smart, if not smarter. You have it in you. You can do it. So she always was very studious, but I think she just, you know, just like other teenagers, sometimes they're not taking their work as seriously, or sometimes they just might not feel to give their full potential. So just fast forward 2 years later, now she's in 10th grade, and I've just seen a major transformation. She has now been on the honor roll twice, I believe, two times. Of course, we had to celebrate that big success, because even if it might seem small to some, small successes are big wins, and that's a major win, just to become on the honor roll. And her teachers are reaching out to her now saying, hey, you need to take this AP course. We're gonna put you in AP English. So that's already like major. She loves creative writing. She's also like a mini entrepreneur. She loves to bake. She designs clothes. She's already looking into colleges. She wants to go to Howard. She's been looking at Stanford, UPenn, Columbia University. She's already preparing her essays to get into these schools. So some might say, well, you're starting a little early, but I say it's better to be proactive, better to be prepared. And it's just very inspirational that she's doing all these things now, because it just shows to her maturity, to her responsibility, and she's just really killing it. So I am, she's the person that I saw in a new light. She is planning for the future, and she's just very studious and very inspiring. And not only have I seen her in a new light, I have to say that she is the light. She is the beacon of hope. And I just continue to inspire, she continues to inspire us, and I just continue to push her to do the best and to put her best foot forward. So shout out to Natalie, and thank you, Miss Jackie, for inviting me to this event tonight.
Thank you, Alex. That was a beautiful story. And if anyone didn't notice what a like inspiring teacher Miss Hooks is, she's this way all the time. Okay, kids were literally bouncing off the walls. And Miss Hooks, while I was in a corner, just was a great spirit. And we taught poetry in the middle of madness, but she continued on with the middle schoolers, thank God. And she's still teaching, and now she's teaching high school and getting ready to go into her grad studies. So you're also someone in a new perspective, Miss Hooks. And way to go, Natalie. We're really happy to hear about your success. Thank you. Lily, I don't see you because my computer's doing crazy things. But before I introduce Ysabella, we jumped right in tonight. So we usually talk about open source.
Sure. I will, oh, thank you. I will tell you about Open Source Gallery is where we're sitting right now, Terrence and I. It's on 17th Street and 6th Avenue in South Brooklyn. And it's, there's a gallery part of it. There's kids education, arts education. There's the How to Build a Fire, the last Friday of every month. We have Church of Monica, which is like lectures on Sunday mornings. Not every Sunday morning, but once a month or something. And then if you go on opensourcegallery.org, you can see all the things that are happening. Every summer they do a camp for kids, which is called the Soapbox Camp. But it's not traditional soapbox. They make stuff out of recycled things like ironing boards, wheelchairs, baby carriage wheels, et cetera, and make things that are gravity powered. So then we have a race down 17th Street, which is like, you know, and so that happens every summer, and it's been sort of a mainstay in our community. So I'm happy to be here supporting it. So right now we have a show by Sarah E. Brooks. which you might see in the background. And I think they have people, they have the gallery open now on weekends, 12 to 6, or by appointment or something. So anyway, I think there's a third storyteller that you're going to introduce, right, Jackie?
I am. Thank you for telling us about open source. I'm getting ready to go on a trip, so I didn't make it today, down today, but I'm coming in July. That is my goal. The gallery is a fun spot. And full disclosure, when it's a good night, we go out afterwards. I won't say what we do, but we have fun. But it's really a lovely spot to visit, and I'm excited for the events for the kids during the summer. So I'm going to introduce our third storyteller, and her name is Ysabella. Oh, I always call you Gara because I can't get the middle name. And she was born in Pereira, Colombia. She is a married mother of 35-year-old twin sons, Philip and Antoine. She's a retired NYC DOE educator and currently an adjunct professor at Lehman College. Isabella's artwork has been exhibited in the USA and Canada. She represents her ideas in stone, bronze, wood, raku, oil painting, collage, drawings, photography, and installations. Her studies in marine biology, art, education, and speech language hearing disorders led her to an adventurous and fascinating life. Ysabella loves to garden, cook, travel, and swim. Ladies and gentlemen, Ysabella Gara.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Jackie, for the wonderful introduction. I'm thrilled to be here. And okay, so my story, I'm going to begin this story when I arrived in the United States as a young 20-year-old woman. And, you know, from there on, of course, there are many adventures and many sidelines and many things. So I came with $100 in my pocket and full of dreams. How did I get from there to here? Of course, is a long journey, and with many side stories. The one that I think that it's that it started my life, or it started me as an artist, a scientist, was let's say I was in college. I came to study, so I was in college, and when my English wasn't that great, but it was okay. And every time that I am nervous, I was in an auditorium in this biology class, and to concentrate, I kind of doodle. And so I was doodling, and the professor passed by and looked at my doodles, and then called me later to his office. And I was like really nervous. What is this guy, calling me to his office? So I sort of went there, and well, lo and behold, he said, look, I see that you draw. Would you like to draw some, snakes at the Museum of Natural History? And I was totally taken back. He also was studying the coral snakes of Colombia, Venezuela, and Panama. And it was all, and he's from Venezuela, so he spoke Spanish. He was from Latvia, but he did his PhD in Venezuela. So anyway, so we met at the Museum of Natural History. I was totally excited. I did not sleep the night before. I said, how am I going to do any of this? And, I have never done any of this, but hey, I could give it a try. So I began doing the the snakes, and then I met one of the curators there. He was studying the poisonous dart frogs, and one thing led to another, one job led to the other, and then from there it just moved on from one job to another. In the meantime, I was in college, and that's where I met my husband. And we were very good friends for many, many, many years. And eventually, after many, many, many years of friendship, he said to me, he called me at the museum one day, and he said, "Why don't you come to Nantucket with me? I'm going on vacation." And I'm going, "What is that all about?" He said, "Well, let's meet for dinner. Let's meet for dinner and we'll discuss." And so we met for dinner, and he said, "Look, we have been friends for so long. Why don't we take this friendship and move it further?" So I looked at him, and I had not looked at him with these eyes of a possible boyfriend. I mean, no, that was like, he was my friend. And I said, "Well, but I don't want to lose you as a friend." And he said, no, we're just, we're just going to explore this. So I go, okay, fine. And, so many years later, we're still friends. Anyway, so my kids, we got married, and, a year later, I gave birth to my twin sons. And because of them is where I am. I became a speech and language pathologist. I became an educator. I had done studies in art and, many other things. And I had worked at other museums. But I decided after having my twins that education is where I wanted to be. And speech and language pathology was even further. And so I just continue, and it was because of this teacher, the other person. I mean, it's like it takes a village, and it has taken New York City to raise Ysabella. So, and my twins have been a great source of inspiration. And I see them on a different light every single day. Because they're amazing young men, whatever, sometimes I don't even think that they're my children. Like, what, really? Anyway, so every day I look back at my life, my journey of 50 years in the United States, and I said, how is a girl from Pereira that ended up in New York City, and here I am. That's it. That's about us. I mean, every little step has a long story, but that is the story. And also because of the twins, I forgot a little part of it. In my studies in speech and language pathology, I now go on medical missions for cleft lip and palate to repair cleft lip and palate in Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru. So I'm kind of like giving back to, to my country, to other countries, to, the best that I can do. And that's a short story of a long life.
Thank you, Ysabella. So we're still friends, right?
I think so. Well, after all of this.
She was not feeling this. I was going to go to her house tonight, and then I couldn't. And I was like, you can get through this, Ysabella, and you did a wonderful job. And we are all glad to hear that you and your husband are still friends.
Okay. Indeed.
Thank you very much. Lily, we should introduce ourselves before our last storyteller.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
I'm Jackie Reason. We are the co-hosts for season 7, and it's been an adventurous ride, and it's a nice way of putting it, right? And then you've met Terrence. He's the founder and creator, and all around good guy. And I am a writer and playwright, and just exploring as many things as I can till something sticks.
And my name's Lily White, and I'm a musician, and I also am a writer, and I love this opportunity to hear other people's stories. I have a fondness for nonfiction, and I feel like it's very transformative.
Hey, Alex. I was just telling Lily that Shaw University has one of the best jazz stations around. Is it still, does Shaw still have that jazz station?
They do. They really do. They send me emails a lot for the alumni. They send me a lot of emails, and they say they're going to be doing something for homecoming with the jazz station. So I'm going to be staying tuned for that.
Lily plays jazz, so there's the.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have a lot of musician friends that have chimed on for the first time, I think. Todd Isler, Kip Reed.
Oh, cool.
All friends of the last storyteller who we have coming up, who is Saul Isler, who I'll read a little blurb that he sent here. Saul is the writer of, let's see, like five novels. Is that possible? 4 novels. The Cave at Devil's Elbow. Babe Ruth is missing. Shakespeare is missing. Jesus is missing. And this is his 3rd book of short stories, preceded by The Man in the Parking Lot and the Blue Shoes. He's also written 2 editions of humorous treatise on solving acrostic puzzles, the Majestic Acrostic and the Majestic Acrostic H, or 2. Sorry, 2. I don't have my glasses right. He's been an ad man, a journalist, newspaper columnist, restaurant reviewer, and host of Dining Out on Radio Sausalito. His work has appeared in the San Francisco Chronicle, in the Cleveland Plain Dealer, which is where I came across him, The Onion, and in 2 anthologies, NPR's I Thought My Father Was God, and the Left Coast Writers' Hot Flashes 2. He is a Cleveland native and lives in Santa Monica, where he may be reached at some address that I won't give out now. But anyway, Saul Isler is, more importantly, the uncle of one of my best friends, Todd Isler. And when I was in writing school, I was reading a lot of stuff, and all of a sudden I came across this story, and I'm reading it, and I see the writer is Saul Isler, and it's about baseball, and I thought, oh my God, this is the Saul Isler. And I woke up Todd. I think I called it like midnight, which I never do. And said, is this your uncle? He's great. So here he is with a great send-up, Saul Isler. Put your hands together.
Hello. Very happy to be with you. Todd, I told you never to eat when I'm on Zoom. All right, never mind that. Can you all hear me? I guess I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
That's all. That's fine. Okay. My story is not one I will tell. It's one that I will read. It comes from my first book of short stories called The Man in the Parking Lot. Why is that in reverse? Well, it is. Anyhow, the theme was new perspectives, and I thought this story would be kind of appropriate for it. It's called Death Interrupt Us. I wrote it for Robin Williams when I learned of the fact that he had committed suicide. And it kind of shook me up and shook up a bit of the world. So I will go right into it. I'm sitting on my porch looking westward at the red balloon settling itself into the Bay of San Francisco like a dowager settling her skirts into the shallow end of her swimming pool. I'm finally at peace with the decision I've made, so this, forgive the drama, is my final sunset. A few hours from now, they'll find me lying on my bed, maybe smiling with my arms folded comfortably across my chest. And I'll be dead by choice. My name is David Carpenter, and I am saving this sunset, holding on to it to reflect on a life well lived, if a life gone impossibly wrong. I'm also savoring my evening martini, sipping it very slowly to prolong its exquisite pleasure, since it will be my last drink. I mean to derive from it and from the muse who abides in it words to be penciled one last time on foolscap. Final words, a riff that will live beyond the me who has chosen to exit life on this very perfect Tiburon evening in August. Next to me, sitting on the wide arm of my chair, is my Wally, my ancient black cat, Wally. If he could articulate his thoughts, he'd surely talk me out of this foolishness, this madness. After all, he'd look at me and say, if you go, who the hell is going to look after me? Reasonable question, but I figure that my kids will know what to do. I've left a living will indicating how to dispose of both me and Willie and Wally. Who knew that my beloved Emily would come to love alcohol more than she loved anything else in life, more than me, more than our children, more than life itself? Well, if suicide by drugs was good enough for her, it's good enough for me. Good enough to put my faith in this full bottle of Vicodin. See? Nothing like a good painkiller to take away the pain. Nothing like 50 of them to take away all the pain. And then there was my disastrous second marriage, made on the rebound and based on a desperate need to share my grief over Emily's passing. 6 months of hearing, I'm sick of your Emily sharing our bed, and the marriage was over. And my latest book, I thought it a rather nice piece of exposition, a well-documented expose of daytime TV's sordid underbelly, all the Machiavellian maneuvers of the nameless overlords, nameless no more, who people that bloated niche, Darkening the Day it was called, number 12 on the Times nonfiction list, and rising until the rock of my own sordid life was upturned by a very pissed off daytime producer, fired because of what I'd written about the roundness of her heels. She discovered a bit of plagiarism, a complete and total mistake. 2 paragraphs I'd lifted, whose source I'd inadvertently failed to acknowledge. 2 lousy paragraphs, and suddenly I can't get my agent, my publisher, any publisher, to answer my calls. David Carpenter, the plagiarist. David Carpenter, the pariah. To hell with it. After that, I wasn't invited to write a book review, much less be the subject of one. Within a year, I was next to broke. After a while, nothing mattered, and still nothing does. Nothing is, in fact, what I wish it to be, and so I wish to be no more, and will be within the hours ahead. This is what's simmering in my overheated brain pan, just now beginning to cool with the final acceptance of what I'm about to do. Halfway through my drink, I start to uncap the Vicodin. I look at my watch, 6:45. For no reason other than I like round numbers, I decided to wait until exactly 7 to down the pills. For the next 15 minutes, I mull over the run up to the moment I've arrived at. I showered earlier and put on fresh clothes, khakis and a favorite old sweatshirt. Funny, I thought, how do such mordant details sneak into the big picture? Well, I wanted to look decent when they find me. Okay, I chuckle at myself. Beats crying. And then the window pane explodes at the back of my house. The next sound is the rear door crashing open. Before I can pull myself from my chair, I hear, "Get your ass in here," barked in a raspy, high-pitched voice. I think about running off the porch, but I don't really give a damn what might happen if I face my intruder. I slowly open the screen door and enter my home. I'm more annoyed that I've been interrupted in my little reverie than anything else. The irony of the situation doesn't escape me. I'm facing a short, slight punk dressed in camo pants and a black t-shirt illegibly imprinted with what must be the name of a rock band. The spiky tattoo crawling up his neck is equally illegible. The punk's face, he can't be 20 yet, is pockmarked with a reddish acne that makes him look perpetually angry. His moosed hair is combed straight back. His right hand holds a gun that looks too heavy for him to handle. "Put your hands straight up in the air, man, and do exactly what I say," he says. Staring into his eyes, I do what he demands. "Now, take off your watch and empty your pockets and put it all on that table next to you and then back away." I can't do that with my hands in the air," I say. "Don't be a fucking smart ass," he shoots back at me. "Just do it, man." I do as he says. "What's that you just put in your left pocket?" "It's nothing. It's just my medicine." "What kind of medicine?" "Nothing, for a bad back." I said, "What kind of medicine?" Vicodin. He smiles. "Put it on the table. Now." He waves his gun to hurry me up. "Can't do that, my friend." "What do you mean you can't do that?" "Do it." "No." "No?" The punk's eyes go wide. He looks right then left before firing a shot into the ceiling above me. Some plaster falls on my head. I stand there frozen. But instead of pulling the bottle from my pocket, I hold my stance, my arms now folded, my legs spread. He fires another shot into the floor in front of me. It ricochets and spangs into the something metallic behind my left shoulder. When I still don't comply, he says, "Mister, are you out of your fucking mind?" I said, "Hand over the Vikes." "Go fuck yourself," I hear myself saying softly but firmly. "What's that?" he says. I said, "Go fuck yourself." "You telling me to fuck myself? You gonna die for some lousy pills, man?" I blink for a few seconds. "Yeah, I might. I just might." I'm practically whispering now. "There's something you don't understand, punk. Anything in this house is yours except these lousy pills." "Oh, yeah? And why is that? You some kind of junkie?" "No, you're the junkie. But here's something you don't know. I mean to take every one of these pills the second you clear the fuck out of here. You caught me at a bad moment, you little prick, you little motherfucker. And right now, I don't care if you shoot me or not. Fact is, you'd be doing me a huge favor. Just don't miss if you try." I can see the tough guy look start to fade on his mottled face. He's obviously confused. "You gonna commit suicide?" he says. "Yes, that is exactly what I am gonna commit. And was about to the second before you busted in here. So as much as you may want my drugs, I need my drugs. This bottle you do not get. You got that? Now shoot me or take the stuff on the table and, yeah, get the fuck out of here. A funny look comes over him. Why you want to snuff yourself, man? My turn to look right and then left before replying. What, are you all of a sudden concerned about me? You some kind of shrink? Me? A shrink? You got to be fucking kidding. But you're creepy, you know that, man? My voice begins to rise. I'm creepy. The man says, I'm creepy. What does that make you, man? You don't think it's creepy to break into my house and rob me and shoot your goddamn cannon into my ceiling and my floor and into me? You don't think that's creepy? You crazy, man. You are fucking insane. You got everything and you want to fucking kill yourself? You can keep your shit. I don't even want it. And with that, the punk stuffs his too big gun in his belt and backs out through the very door he just slammed open, and he's gone, empty-handed. I look at my wallet and the other things I'd laid on the table. There's over $100 there, plus a $2,000 Tag Heuer watch, as yet unpawned. His for the taking. And this guy thinks I'm crazy? It's now 7:15. I stare at the bottle of what he called Vikes, now clamped in my sweaty hand. Downing them, I could already have been well on my way to where I mean to go. Who sent this kid? Was this some kind of message from? No, ain't no such thing. I move back out to the porch and flop into my chair. An ounce of warm gin still sits in the glass next to it. I down it, suck the oil off its lemon twist, and then look up just in time to see the clouds go gorgeous, all baby blue and pink from the dying sun. I stare some more at the bottle in my hand, and then I set it next to the empty glass. It'll be there tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Saul. That was great.
Thank you.
I'm gonna see if I can do this here on Spotlight You. That was amazing. It's been a really great night. I love these themes that we come up with because I try to make them like horoscopes, you know, like so general they could fit just about anything. But I think we had a lot of good perspective stories.
We did. Tonight was a great night. We thank you all for coming. We will see you next month in July, probably the last Friday. It's yet to be determined. Yeah. But we thank you. We thank all of our storytellers tonight, all of our guests and everyone. We hope you enjoyed your evening, and this was How to Build a Fire, and we hope to see you again.